What in me is dark? No light, but rather darkness visible. But that is not me. What is in me is not me. I fought with it, lived with it, survived. Yet we become what we subdue. If this is true, then I was never myself. I am not a monster. Then what are you? Tired? Did you even really love me? Or were you just hungry? It is hard to divide that line sometimes. Hunger hovers over every action I take. Maybe I was bored. That's sweet of you, Gilly. Truly, marvelously classy. What are you doing in my dream, Catherine? I came to punch you in the face, you fucking bastard. And then perhaps say goodbye. Pain wells up in my throat, and I answer with anger. Goodbyes are pointless. I have no need for them. You're just another voice in my conscience that will fade away in time. No, I am not. You're still a bastard, mind you, but I love you still. And I loved you. But does that matter now? I will love another one quite like you in the future. You know, I can always tell when you're lying to me. Your mouth does that little twitch and your nose flares up like you smell something bad. That man you knew is gone. He was nothing but an illusion you yourself designed, my dear. I only adapt. Then why do you still do it? How can you still tell you're lying? How can I still tell you're lying? I'm not. Liar. You are holding a telescope. I don't see it. Sagittarius is over there, I laughed, pointing your hand to the night sky. Beneath this blanket of stars, the brightest one was sitting right beside me. Would you believe me if I say I never meant to kiss you? But I'm glad I did. I had hoped you wouldn't see my hand shake. In your eyes, I feel like I am somebody worth loving. I am a lie, but that was the truth. The arrow you struck my heart with worked both ways, Moncho. I have loved you since I was a child, and you have to keep this mask on for years, longer than you usually had to. But you see, when you become something for a long time, it imprints on you like a seed. Maybe you liked keeping this face, Moncho. Your cat died today, and we buried it in my garden. You were crying so hard nobody could comfort you. Candies or sweets and other bribes never worked. In my desperation, I said, "Everything dies," as if that was a truth worthy to be told to a child. Did you know that the baker's dog also died? Things die, so please don't be upset. Your eyes stared up at me. To my surprise, you began to laugh. Gully, you are such an idiot. The baker's dog also died. Are you really trying to cheer me up? Oh, that's a cute scene. I shift uncomfortably in my boots, but your laughter had you in stitches. You took away my love, but you can't take away my memories. My memories falter and fade. When you have lived as long as I have, memories are cheap. Love is cheap, Catherine. So would you please leave me now? I don't want to remember you anymore. I don't want this. Once upon a time, there was a man who lost his heart. So he eats others. I never lost it. I have always been cursed without it. Then take mine. Yours. Take my love with you until the end of time. You will never go hungry again. That's not true. You hated me at the very end, like everyone else. Well, you ruined my life, so of course I hated you. You lied to me. You used me. But love and hate can be so similar. It's as simple as flipping a coin. But don't give me apathy. I want my memory to burn as bright as a star in your mind. And this memory I want you to remember me by is not my body hanging lifelessly by a rope. Remember me as a child who loved you. My dear, I love you. I forgive you. An unfamiliar bitterness washed over my tongue. It threatens to sting my eyes with tears, clenching my throat with pain. Curiously, it is a sensation almost foreign in its rarity. Love. Is it possible? Can I love a memory? Can I survive with only your love to give me sustenance? I take a step towards you. Something stirred in my dreamscape, and suddenly you are not there anymore. I see you in the distance, a semblance of your visage upon a glassy hill. The sky is dark. The moon hangs ominously upon your head. Catherine, run! But you cannot hear me. My legs are draped in clear jelly. In dreams, everything is slow. I cannot get to you in time. Man, this is creepy. Ugh. Your face begins to change. You are Catherine. You are Emily. You are Marcus. You are Diomedes. You are Psyche. Your head begins to snap and distort. The skin bubbles and the flesh tears to reveal the pulsing hide of the monster inside. Your glistening heart pumps in your chest, your feathers pruned and majestic from recent feeding. Yet I am not afraid of this thing and its many mouths. You are merely holding a mirror up to me. A slithering hand wraps around my neck and lifts me from the ground. The pressure tightens as I struggle. One of your tongues lick at the side of my belly as if sampling the food before the course. Running away again. Content to starve yourself and feed off a memory. Pathetic. You still look like Catherine. Maybe that is the most painful part. I can't bear to look at you. Why starve yourself when there is plenty to eat? Why beg for scraps when you can gorge? Did you really think your life could change? You know better. Son of beauty, brother of night, love. That's you. You are a sickness. Wherever you will go, this shadow will haunt you. Collect your trinkets by all means. Relive your precious memory. But know that you will be nothing more than a hypocrite. A clean man walking in a mountain of flesh. Open your eyes. Open them. Behold my true, glorious form. Humans are insatiable. Men and women, they are all rabid for love. How many times have you been their toy? Humans are cruel to things they desire. I must be powerful. I must be on top. I control them instead of them controlling me. I will not be a piece of meat. Never again. Your face softens and the grip on my neck drags me close to your lips. You claim my mouth with yours and it tastes just like honey. Spit ropes between our lips. Love is my sustenance. Love is my sustenance. I will take what I can because they so willingly give. I must get rid of this dastardly spell I am under. It is playing with my mind. Catherine is gone, like her memory. In the end, this was an old vile magic, a cheap parlor trick. Whoever touched me will pay. I was like, no! Oh! He woke up with the dream still fading from his memory. He was not in his room, but in Catherine's. This did not surprise him. Whoever cast the spell did not do so on a whim. To take him away from his sanctuary was to render him weaker. A pure white candle flickered on the table. Its flame looked as though it was ready to go out. I couldn't save you. I tried. Rosa stepped out of the shadows. You stared at her with irritation. What is the meaning of this, Rosa? This is your doing? She looked at him with sadness. I was too weak to save you. Save me from what? From what you are. His face crumpled into confused anger. I didn't expect such contempt from someone I trusted. Do you expect me to ask your forgiveness for what I've done, sire? Because I won't. I will stand by what I did. I will do it again if I can. But such a spell requires much preparation. You are not to do that again. Do you hear me? I will not allow you to be subjected to such an insult. I will not allow myself to be subjected to such an insult. I'm not trying to do something that petty. I am trying to save you. I do not know what you're talking about. If you persist in this foolish behavior, then I will be forced to take action. Go ahead, but I will simply try again. Stop it. He grabbed her shoulders in irritation and shook her. They stared at each other in heavy silence, and he somewhat regretted his forcefulness. But Rosa did not flinch or look away, even at his outburst. There was no fear or frailty in her eyes at all. Why? Why are you doing this? You should know how pointless it is. I had to try. If there is a way to save you, I am inclined to take it. I had hoped Catherine's memory might work on you. I cast a spell to give you her memory, so you don't have to resort to feeding. He recoiled from her like her skin was scalding to the touch. You! How dare you! How did you... Rosa just stared at him, her eye clear and resolute. I know what you are because we are the same. We are creatures that emanate desire and feed on love. I have lived with this curse knowing only a semblance of what I am. Mother taught me how to control it, even in her own twisted way. I was lucky. I wasn't alone. But you were. Rosa's eyes bloomed with sadness. I can only imagine how hard that must have been. He staggered back in shock. So there was another one like him. A desperate hope clutched onto him like talons. Was that why he had taken to her so without wanting to feed on her? That's why I'm doing this. I wanted to give you Catherine's memory, like how Mother's memory keeps me sustained. Love doesn't have to be taken like this. There are other ways. He frowned indignantly. Don't you think I have tried that? You're still very young, I can tell. I have already endured centuries of this curse. I know all the tricks to survive. From strangers to villagers, I know how much I can take. I am meticulous. Then why must you insist on this method? With no reason to stand for ceremony, his face changed easily. Rosa's jaw clenched. She was talking to a stranger now. His face lost the virtue that once belonged to a blameless man. It was replaced by a curious, cheeky grin, a perpetual look of childlike mischief. This man irritated her, and yet somehow Rosa felt like she had known him for a long time. He had always been there, hadn't he? Or rather, it had always been him. Why? Because it is fun. And the taste is worlds better. The experience of drawing out love is unlike any human feeling. It is transcendent. It is the only moment I feel alive. The only moment I feel like a god. Once you've had a taste of it, nothing else compares. You must try it. I bet you can only afford to be self-righteous because you don't know any better. You're wrong. I did it to Catherine. I tasted her love, but I was able to stop myself in time. I knew it would destroy her. So that was you, It makes sense that Catherine's love for me waned. That never happened before. Desire can be controlled. I do not wish to control it. Why should I? Admit it. You've longed for that taste since your tongue dipped in its pot. Rosa did not speak. She shifted nervously on her feet. He went on. We are given this curse to endure, Rosa. Why must we scutter in the corner and humble ourselves? To whom do we abdicate ourselves to? To normal people? They are beneath us. For all their achievements and talents, love is the only thing that can drive them mad. Don't you see? Their weakness is the one thing we feed on. It is the natural order. He stepped close to her and touched her bare arm. He tried to hide his bliss. I told you before, if you need power, then be powerful. I will teach you how to wield it. You still have much to learn. If you will join me, Rosa, just imagine what we can do. We will be powerful, you and I. Rosa's momentary confusion faded. The hard look appeared on her face once again. I will never join you. You use people for your own gain. So? His voice couldn't keep from rising. What of it? Isn't it the rule of human existence? It's all a game, Rosa. A game I play to win. So people's lives are a game to you? He shrugged. Of course they are. Humans use and abuse, and they throw away on whim. They destroy for no apparent reason except that they want to. It took me the longest time to understand why. I realized it is simply their nature. Humans don't play fair, but I do. And I still get ahead. Rosa's eyes narrowed at him. How can you throw people away so easily? Don't you see that they are good people like Catherine? You are afraid to remember. You are afraid to give them the worth they deserve. You rejected her memory, content to forget her value. He was silent for a few moments. Then he gave a low snicker. Rosa, Rosa, Rosa. That is an amusing thesis. He looked at her dumbfounded face pitifully. Another chuckle escaped. He couldn't help it. You got me all wrong, Rosa. I do not undervalue people. In fact, I love them. I revere them. I am grateful. They sustain me after all. That alone deserves all the appreciation and care I can give. I loved Catherine with every fiber of my being. She was a kind soul. She tasted perfect. But I think you underestimate how long I've been on this dirty, forsaken rock. Good people are not rare and precious treasures. As such, they are not to be handled any differently from the rest. What? And all this talk about worth. Do you mean some people are worth more than others because they are kind? What if from now on I only consume bad people? Or how about those in the lowest caste of societies? Ruffians, rapists, thieves. It is easy to be kind when you are privileged, but those poor, unworthy souls, surely no one would miss them. Or would that make you feel better? Rosa faltered. That's not what I'm saying. That is exactly what you're saying. You're telling me I shouldn't feed because there are good people out there that deserve better. So if they're bad, it is all right? How terribly judgmental of you. No, every human being has a capacity for kindness or cruelty. To judge someone on such a volatile detail is a prejudice. After all, kind man can mill the death of his fellow man no sooner than a criminal can turn a new leaf. The truth is, there are no good or bad people. There are just people. And I'm not picky. Stop saying that. You don't really believe that, do you? You hurt like me. You want acceptance like me. I know deep inside you want something more than a feeding or a craving. You've written as much in your diary. You sneaky little minx. Didn't I tell you you were not supposed to touch that? Stop. Please stop this. I implore you. Her pleading face stirred something in him. But the callousness in his heart had decades to harden. He snorted. Or what? What do you plan to do, little girl? Is that it? Is this it? Is this your plan? Put on a light show and talk to me into death? Surely you didn't think this would be that easy. If you had a different offer, I'm all ears. I thought as much. Well, good talk. Although a little pointless, I'm sure you'll agree. Is that what you think of Catherine, then? Nothing but cattle? He winced despite himself. I loved Catherine. I know you too. Loved her deeply, whether you admit it or not. You can't take love without giving it, can you? He sighed in annoyance. Just another spoke in the old fun wheel. You're lying if you say you are not the least bit troubled by your actions. That's a start. The first step. If it means you are not as cold as you want to appear. If you admit your guilt and take responsibility for her death. He waved her away with an indifferent scuff. I refuse. Her death was her own decision. I had no hand in that. She reaped what she sowed, and I collected. That is all. With this validation, the assured smile came back to his lips. He shrugged. Who knows? Maybe she could have gotten better over time. Most people bounce back from the loss of love. Or not. Who really knows? Is it my fault she gave me everything? I didn't ask her to. Which was only fair. Like you said, I didn't hold back. It was an equal exchange. Rosa's throat went dry. Oh, I see. Oh, love. Love is the strongest force in the world, but it is never pure. Always tainted, always poisoned. What are you talking about? Well, I hate to shatter this vision you have of Catherine, but she wasn't so righteous. Because she was as selfish as everyone else. What? Think back, Rosa. Oh, all our fights started because of her jealousy. She couldn't stand the thought of someone else getting a slice of her pie. And why not? Wasn't I convenient for little Miss Pure-Eyed? Yes, of course, convenient and perfectly adequate. Sweet, boring, obliging Mickey de Gull. Wasn't he so easy to love? He could help her achieve her grand dreams, give her the good life that hovered just beyond her reach. After all, he didn't seem to have any plans of his own, did he? As if satisfied to exist only for her. Honestly, what a catch. What an impressive pedestal. Even when the core of this love poisoned her, she made no attempts to leave. I wonder why. Oh, now, there's a question. Why indeed? Because she had hope. She stayed, hoping her feelings for you would return. That was how much she loved you. He scoffed. How sweet of you to say. You really thought Catherine stayed with me just for love? And not at all because she was scared, insecure, comfortable? He tapped his chin in mock contemplation. Or maybe she just wanted so badly to be the Marquis's wife. Such a proud girl she was. Must she settle for anything less? That will show all the people who used to scorn and underestimate her. They who called her sister a whore, the ones who called her and her mother mad, that will show them. Rosa took a shaky step back. It is not true. I won't believe it. Catherine was a kind person. So what? Does it matter? Does being kind justify selfishness? Does being kind even save anyone? You are heartless. Maybe. It has been so long I can't tell. Always, the love of self is first, Rosa. Don't take it personally. Shut up. Don't you ever get tired of justifying your hunger? So Catherine wasn't perfect, yet you simply pass the blame. All just excuses. The truth is, you just don't want to stop, do you? You're no god, no higher being. You're nothing but a common vampire, a monster. His face twitched. Feeding on the love of the people who love you? You must know how wrong that is. His face shook visibly, but he kept his smile. His voice remained pleasant and calm. So you compare me to storybook monsters now, Rosa. How insulting. Oh, but yes, wouldn't it be easier if I dined on blood or flesh? Something tangible, perhaps? Something physical? Things would have been so much easier, simpler. After all, if I drank blood, I wouldn't have to tangle with their lives. He turned to Rosa, his eyes burning, and she could feel the heat in his stare. I wouldn't have to be sane. His voice shook with anger. She flinched. You self-righteous minstrel, how dare you talk to me about guilt? How dare you call me a monster? You chastise me, singing songs of praise for the greater good. Have you ever tasted your own betrayal on the lips of the person you love? Do you know what it's like to strangle hope with your own hands? I look into their eyes and see them die from the inside out. And am I worth it? Am I worth all their lives? Never. But I do it again and again and again and again. For the right to exist. Just for the right to exist. You read my journal and act like you know me. You know nothing. I wish I was a monster. Maybe then I wouldn't have to feel. The silence reigned between the two of them. His face went blank after his outburst, almost confused at the words that came out of his mouth. He forced his lips into a placated grin. Pardon me, I didn't mean to shout. Being a gentleman anyways. He took a deep breath and refused to speak again. Rosa buried her face in her hands. He was right. She had come here with an overestimation of herself. Her ethics were the cries of a child. How could he listen to someone immersed only in her own tender ideals? If she wanted to help him, she had to know his pain. What could she say? Her mind struggled with the words. They all sounded artificial in her head. All she could do was hold out her hand to reach him, couldn't she? She could offer him hope, a little warmth away from the chunk of ice beating inside of him. She approached him tentatively. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have spoken such hateful words. But don't you see? You don't have to endure this pain anymore. I am offering you a different path. Let me help you. He didn't speak nor move. Rosa held on to the pain she saw in his eyes a moment longer. It was her only hope. But if there ever was a trace of it in his face, it flittered away before it took substance. His abject face contorted into a grin. He chuckled. Then his laughter filled the room, cold, bitter laughter that chilled her skin into a shiver. Rosa drew her hand away in fear. You really don't get it, do you? I meant to say that is what makes it substantive. It is precious. What? Make no mistake, I endured all this for something as silly or disposable as blood. Love is worth all the pain. The best wine tastes like the dirt from which it was exalted. Rosa's mouth dropped in horror. She stepped away from him. A cold shiver passed her spine. No, no, no! She stared at him, grasping at the flicker of hope that came as fast as it went. He had built a kingdom from the maze of his own heart, but both ruler and prisoner, both exalted and doomed. She could feel the cracks in his armor, the crumbling of a wall. He wanted to get out. Rosa thought she saw light in his darkness, a hand reaching out to be saved. But where was it now? Where was this hope? It was gone. Had it ever been there at all? Or did her desire to help him trick her into seeing what she wanted to see? Rosa bit her lip to steel herself. Oh, don't look at me like that. I had the same morals as you when I was younger. But time smoothes out our rough ideologies. I was wrong. I thought I could save you. You are quite full of yourself if you think you can save people. He took a step towards her, and Rosa's throat closed up. Get away from me. I'm not going to hurt you, Rosa. If you wish to debate philosophy further, we can do so for 1,000 more years. But aren't we ignoring the simple, most potent truth? We found each other. So many souls running around this earth, and we actually managed to meet. Do you realize how momentous this is? I could give you love, Rosa. Forget Catherine or your mother. They are remnants of a bitter past. How long are you going to hang on to their memories anyways? Love is not something to be thrown away. It endures. I know this because I've loved Mother this long despite the pain. She was the first person to show me I matter. From under the folds of her dress, Rosa took out a locket. It was a locket he had given her at the cliff. He stared at it, confused. Remember the person in the picture? Oh, you got it open. Pray tell, what is it? Is it the Queen? This is my mother. What? His mind went blank for a moment. I felt something for you from the very beginning. My heart felt close to you. I want to believe that is because we are family. Don't you see? That's why I can't give up on your redemption so easily. I care for you more than you think. He furrowed his brow. Indeed, the woman in the picture stirred something in his memory, and yet no matter how much he searched his memories, he could not remember. Was there such a woman that bore him a child in the past? A sudden hope dug its nail into his chest once again. He answered this hope with contempt, force of habit. Pardon me, my memory's a bit rusty. What was her name again? Rosa parted her lips in disappointment. Is that all you've got to say? You were carrying my mother's picture all this time. You are my father. That is probably why we are the same. Curiously, there was an urge to take back his haughty words, but he forced it down. This pain made him uncomfortable. Her tears were starting to hurt him. He laughed and shrugged, then promptly clenched his jaw. He didn't like how she made him aware of his own failings. A sudden irritation at Rosa came over him, an itch to hurt her. Oh, dear me, forgive my cynicism, darling. He scratched his chin to hide his distress. That portrait is quite blurry, and I am barren. Rosa staggered. How much of your mother do you really remember? I don't remember any being birthing me, do you? You must admit the possibility that this mother you speak of was simply a stranger who took you in as her own, Rosa. Fueled by the force of our curse, she was deluded, possessive, and hysterical. I do not deny that I might be the root of her delusion. She must have searched for me and found you by accident instead. He shrugged. An
an alternate theory, but one that makes more sense.
What are you saying?
Simple. Whoever created a pathetic thing such as me deemed it impossible to scatter my seed. It was just as well. There was a ting of bitterness in his amused voice. After all, to wish this curse upon somebody else, my child, nonetheless, that would make me a different kind of monster altogether.
Rosa looked at the locket with shaking hands. She opened her mouth to say something, but promptly closed it. The fight had vanished from her eye. Tears fell as she closed the pendant in her fist. He fidgeted uncomfortably.
If you want to believe it so, then I can be your father if you so wish.
Why did he say that? He admitted that he didn't expect the words to come out. He was only mulling it over in his mind, looking at her dejected face. It was a pity, wasn't it? A favor out of pity for this poor, lonely girl. Or was it penance?
I don't mind.
He did his best not to sound distressed. Perhaps a part of him wanted it to be true. He looked at Rosa and felt the same sterling of affection he had for her through the years. It wouldn't be much of a stretch, would it? He could protect her and care for her like a real father would. Hope began to sprout in his heart again.
That dastardly thing grew like a weed.
It veered dangerously close to breaking through his pride. Wouldn't it be a miracle? A child of his own flesh and blood standing before him, full of love, disappointment, and confusion. Exactly how a child would look up to their parents. What a nice sentiment. By this time, he was already well acquainted with the dying screams of hope. He knew which soft, secret places to push in order to kill it.
You don't deserve it. Of course, of course. He laughed almost a bit too loudly.
Rosa winced.
Don't look so troubled, my daughter. We're a family, aren't we? Enough of such moody, sentimental topics. They bore me. Instead, why don't we start thinking about possibilities?
Please. She was still bent on changing his mind, but he could tell her resolve had all but fizzled out.
Oh, again? You still haven't given up?
I'll admit you have some spirit.
It's admirable that you'd go to such lengths for me. I mean it when I say I'm honored. But you are so naive. Tragedy is everybody's friend, Rosa. If you stay with him too long, his smell will linger on your skin. I don't care much for tragedies myself. I am more interested in opportunities. And what we have right now is a dawning, a beginning. He stepped closer to Rosa, touching her cheek with his palm. Rosa was afraid, but she didn't make any attempts to run away this time. Aren't you glad you found me? You're not alone anymore. We are blood. You don't have to hide and cower, to subject yourself to the motions of this cruel life. Enough of this fascination for glorified sacrifice. Come with me.
Rosa stared up at him. What?
Come with me, Rosa. He repeated his words with a cheerful smile. Let us leave this place and go far away. Start over. Doesn't that sound grand? It's about time you let go of the bad memories and face something new. Don't you think you owe yourself that much? And what of the victims you will continue to take?
What about them?
What about them? I care little for strangers. It is you I want to make happy, Rosa. Please let me. I need you as much as you need me.
Rosa bit her lip. Mother, I need you right now. Please let me hear your voice. She struggled with the pain in her heart. She was free-falling. Mother, to hear her mother's voice. She has always been the ground she stood on, but the pain on her bare feet and a place to stand, both the pain on her bare feet and a place to stand. Whether she walked or chose to fly, that ground would be there when she landed. Such was the role of family. It didn't matter if she was her real mother or not. What mattered was the love she gave her. The memories were real. Rosa's jaw clenched. She tasted the caustic realization in her mouth. Rosa? And that was when he felt an icy pain shoot through his chest. He looked down. There was a knife sticking out of him. The knife Rosa had stolen from the kitchen. I'm sorry. The blade clattered to the floor. Rosa's lips quivered. But I have to make this right. His body lost all strength. He slumped on the floor, blood staining his shirt red. He just laughed in amusement.
Oh, you stupid girl.
So this is your response
To my generous offer? Ugh, how trifling. I expected better from you." He winced in pain. "But been a while since I was stabbed." She knelt beside him. She didn't speak at once. "That wound will not heal like the others." "Oh?" I must end it here. For Catherine, for Mother, for all your victims, for you. I have to do the right thing." She said this aloud, but she only half believed it. The right thing, Was there such a thing? She revealed in this confusion. The least she could do was carry the burden of her choice for the rest of her life instead of forgetting. She had considered simply leaving him, unchanged and prisoner of his own twisted ideals. She still could. If she reversed the spell now and allowed him to heal, then he would survive. Young, powerful, and healthy, but unchanged, and carrying the same shadow in his heart. She had tried, hadn't she? Whatever he did next should be none of her concern. There was a pinch in Rosa's chest. But to know that she doomed him to make the same mistakes forever, to stop caring about him and degrade him into nothing but a failure, it seemed crueler somehow. It would make her like him. He sat up wordlessly, his back pressed on the wall. This pain was different. The blood hadn't stopped leaking from his chest. He coughed and liquid filled his lungs. It was getting harder to breathe. A part of him wanted to ask how she had found a way to kill him. It seemed quite pointless now, a waste of precious breath. He sat there bleeding, willing himself to anger. He thought of threatening her, demanding her to do something, but he didn't. He was surprised to find something else in his heart. Gratitude, of all things. Rosa held his hand as the blood continued to pour out of his wound. Dimly, he reflected that she really did have spirit, the courage to do what he could not. He used the last of his strength to lift up his hand and wipe away her tears. "Don't cry. I'm fine with this." His hand lingered on her face for a while. He searched his heart for anger, for bitterness, for this girl, but there was none. How curious it was to feel the steel in his heart and yet no hate for its wielder. How curious it was to know that this was an act of love. "Rosa, you are an anomaly. No. You confuse me." Maybe if he had listened, would he have? Maybe she was right. He could change. But it was too late for him, wasn't it? It had been too late for him decades ago, long after he degraded life, including his own, as pointless and petty. That was only regret. I wish we had met sooner." He took a deep breath. The pain in his chest throbbed with every breath. Still, it was only a distant buzzing in his mind. The pain was simply white noise. Rosa held his hand tighter. I'm sorry. Apologizing again? I thought I've made myself clear with that." He coughed and tasted metal in his mouth. He chuckled and wiped it away. "Rosa, I was never strong enough to endure this life, but it looks like you are. That's good. You'll stay with me for a while, won't you? Please?" "Yes." Take my journal with you. It might help. I would still wish for you to start anew. Board the ship. The papers. Take the money in my office. Use it to build a new life." He coughed and red specks of blood. He swallowed. His throat felt like it was on fire. He had a lot more to say, a lot more to tell her. He tried to speak as clearly as he could, despite the bulge climbing up his windpipe. "Avoid small towns. They don't take to strangers kindly. You'll stick out like a sore thumb. Always present yourself as nobility, or a person of influence. Give people another reason to think you're desirable. Otherwise they will fear and hate you, confused by their own urges." His breathing was getting erratic. "Also, remember to... Shh, please, rest now." Rosa smiled sadly. "You are still so generous, even if you are like this." He smiled. "Like what?" He chuckled at the memory. "Generosity is the only saving grace of the dying. Or a parent, I suspect." "I'm happy I found you, Father." "Likewise. The last few years I've spent with you were my happiest." He stared at her, his vision clear now. He pushed a strand of hair away from her face and touched her lip fondly. "Oh, this is so sad." "My daughter." Rosa's eyes filled with tears at this. "You are beautiful. At the end I got to meet you. To know that something good came from my existence. It is not so bad. I love you, Rosa.
As do I, Father. Please, be free. Death gave the heart a final gift of bliss. He savored this.
Thank you, Rosa.
The two of them crouched alone in a corner, cherishing each other's warmth for as long as it lasted. The candle's wick expired, and the room was plunged into darkness. Darling? Yes, Mother. I know it was hard, but all the same I am grateful. Mother didn't sound spiteful or on edge this time. She was simply serene. Rosa got up, looking down at him one last time. Mother, I could not get rid of the feeling that I should have done things differently. Should I have done more? Should I have sacrificed more? Tears once again stung her eye. I wish I could turn back time and change something. Anything. I feel so powerless.
I understand. Loss will always hurt, my darling. It makes us vulnerable. But you must know that
Changing things does not guarantee happiness. Do you understand? Yes. Oh, my darling, I wish I was there to hold you. What are you going to do now? I don't know. Whatever directions you head, I will be with you. I know you will, Mother. Your presence saved me, as it always does. You reminded me that nothing lost should be thrown away. Catherine, and you will always be with me. I am not alone. I am proud of you, my beautiful daughter. The first rays of light slipped past the window and touched her face. Rosa left the room to welcome the dawn.
Okay, that's it. I'm gonna restart it and do the other ones now.
Do, 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 do.